but we're going to move into another different topic, but kind of related, if you're ready for it, Nick.
Let's do it.
I'm just looking for the go sign. Let's go. We're talking about Overwatch Collegiate Championship happened this past weekend. Here are the competitors. Some names you don't know, some names you do know. Winthrop, Northwood, Maryville, as well as Rutgers, our Scarlet Knights. I know we have connections to Rutgers here in New Brunswick. Not too far from either of us, but, you know, good old New Jersey school. Illinois State, Grand Canyon, Fisher Fines, Fisher College. Fisher had a lot of representation, but anyway, a lot of life here in the Overwatch scene in a college sense, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, Washington. University of Washington needs to put on notice. Y'all need to be put on notice. They know exactly what I'm talking about if they're watching this.
Are you trying to say their mascot's a furry?
That's sussy as fuck, man. Like that's some sussy shit.
You know what's funny? They could be using the school's mascot, so it might not even be associated with like an esport thing.
Nah, get Sonic Fox in here. He could definitely help us out. That shit that looks like somebody pays for a mask on that. But anyway, going into the results, we're going to jump in. We're not even bothering with the bracket. It was exciting to watch. It's good to see that the overall collegiate scene for Overwatch is alive. We are seeing some double dipping from the OWCS into collegiate or vice versa, but it's amazing to see. Illinois State ended up taking the win over Maryville in the grand finals here, bringing $25,000 back to the school or the players. I'm not sure how that goes because I know the NCAA just changed rules where players in these sports and competitive in school can make money. They're not going to be banned from it. And that's been a long time coming. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see that Illinois continuing a bit of dominance. I know they struggled a little bit from watching it, but congratulations to them. Congratulations to Maryville and the Northwood. A top three that you'd almost expect with their former Overwatch pros. Any takeaways off the bat here? Not really an event that you were too involved with, Nick. I know we were talking about it, but like you are seeing some names that are familiar with. Any thoughts? You muted yourself again because of coughing, man. Yeah, I'm familiar with three names. Illinois State and Maryville. Good for them. No, I didn't watch this, but like it's always awesome whenever I just realized somebody up there was named Snowden. Anytime that like these colleges are doing this, it's like always really, really cool for players to know to go to one of these schools, right? Literally, it's just another pull for them to, grab people to come spend money, get a college degree.
And like
play video games along the way.
You look at Fisher here. Fisher's got the same icon. They've got 3 teams representing themselves. Are they that good? Probably. They competed, they qualified. Or is it just like, but they've got Fisher College, Fisher Freaks, and Fisher Fines. Fines, I think, is a bird. But either way, it's cool to see that they might be clubs. They might have a roster of 15 people that they're splitting into 3. Whatever it might be, there's enough of a demand.
They hate each other.
You think, there's a rivalry?
It's just a whole war in the school. And instead of calling like the Fisher Freaks, they call them like the Fisher Fucks. It's just like, get out of here, guys. Like, we're going to beat you. No, it's crazy. Like, how many players is that total? Right? Well, do they have any substitutes and shit for each team?
Yeah, at the very least, you have to field 15. So you're talking about 15 to 20-ish, depending on what the school, I guess,
and would
does.
They just drop? Like, let's say, do they have like enough substitutes? And like, let's say Fisher College, right? If one of their players can't play, are they just allowed to just steal the Fisher Freaks?
I mean, it's ultimately just onto the college sort of like regular rules. So I wouldn't doubt that. Basically overall, the point we're making a little bit of fun of, having fun with, is that there's a big demand. There's a lot of players there. College scene seems to be alive. They've got some vibrancy of it. There's got some money involved, some notoriety. You're competing against former Overwatch pros. You're learning from former Overwatch pros directly, playing with them, playing against them. So a lot of cool things happening here. I think a big takeaway for this, like I said, is like looking towards the college scene is going to be the way to move forward. It's going to be
how many Big Ten teams play esports? Like Rutgers part of the Big Ten, right? Yeah. That I don't think we've kind of seen them go into the packs. I think that's more of an old school, archaic sort of for football and like hierarchy lineage of things. As far as Big Ten goes, I think because like you talk about college basketball, college football, it's so hard to delineate who's better than who, because it all comes down to tournament invitations. And then really Big Ten just means you're the Big Ten people who get the most money because you have the bigger sponsorships, because you draw the biggest audience on TV. You sold the biggest broadcasting contracts.
So they have it though. It's called the Big Esports Conference. And there was an article in 2023 in September. So not that long ago. And it's literally like, for its inaugural esports season, the Big Esports Conference will feature competitions in Overwatch 2, Rocket League, Smash Brothers, Ultimate, and Valorant.
And that's not an unusual thing, because they literally do the same thing already right now, like with football or with any other like sport, wrestling, gymnastics. The colleges in a certain conference or division are going to compete across the board with that. So esports is a new realm. They're starting to develop that. I wouldn't doubt that it's the same. I would question the validity or the competitive integrity of it for right now, because it probably feels more for show than for anything else. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say on that.
No, I mean, probably just for them to get out, right? Like get out and like just say, hey, we have it. And then if they want to, like, if they see it as a nice venture, they'll go into it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And we want to see more of it, of course, because this is going to be the foundation of competition moving forward, especially for an Overwatch who had a professional league, try to franchise it. And then the developer's like, nah, because of sketchiness, the same sketchiness we talked about before. But yeah, this is going to be the way forward for stuff like that. It might be the most sustainable way forward as well.
It's also interesting that like this article was done. Was it done before that? I'm like moving out of my own frame. Was this article was done in September 2023? Was this before Nintendo set like the new rules and the new standard for Super Smash Brothers, where like you have to go through that for like everything that's worthwhile?
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out, and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show. So yeah, I just got the link from you. Let me see if I can bring it into better frame for us. Here we go. It was written in September. I believe that Nintendo rule thing dropped in like October or November. I remember them talking about it like, oh, we're only 6 weeks away from one of the biggest tournaments in December. And like Hungrybox was upset. I think this was like slightly before, but it might have been something. Dude, since I went to Rutgers back in, I'm not going to say, since I went to Rutgers, there's been Smash clubs. Not that kind of Smash club. There's been Super Smash Bros. Clubs, Melee, Brawl, Ultimate clubs that you can go play, compete in tournaments. The clubs would hold tournaments that would bring in regional talent as well as national talent. Some of the bigger schools, I remember going to Penn State in Pennsylvania, going to Philly to compete. I wasn't good, but I would casually go and compete in those things. So I wouldn't doubt that it didn't matter to these colleges because if they kept it more club, but with new Nintendo's new rules, adding in officially like those games would be a good thing.
Right.
Yeah. All the things it brings esports up. I do want to go do a quick, because you did mention it. Let's shout out Reinforce. See if we get some attention on him for here, because you mentioned Mr. Snowden. Overwatch League talent, Reinhardt main, fellow Reinhardt main, fellow strong boy, too strong. See if he gets. Let's see. Yeah, you and I had some good times Reinhardt main on Hanamura. So
I like that. I like Reinhardt.
Yeah. So we're for it. We're for it here. Moving on into the other Overwatch, the bigger Overwatch topic really is that we saw a mid-season patch, a pretty big mid-season patch here. Mid-season patch. I should probably do that when you're talking, but I just don't want to forget it. We saw a really big mid-season patch come after this director's take, basically changing tanks. We saw that tanks were struggling. A lot of player sentiment was that tanks were getting focused by all the abilities from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. We saw the subtraction of one tank. So going from 2 down to 1, which meant now they're the biggest character on the screen. They're the easiest to shoot. They're the most fulfilling to shoot because it's like, hey, I hit that headshot kind of stuff. But also for abilities, nades, sleeps, Discord orbs, they're the biggest target with the biggest reticle to be able to like land those things. So, and as a tank, you're the only one controlling the spot, whereas DPS, you have 2 of them. Healers, supports, you have 2 of them. You can kind of split the load sometimes, teamwork on that, whereas tank is solo in that case. So developers' take on this was that they agreed and they wanted to see some differences. And specifically, actually, let's just skip ahead into the patch notes, which we've already, if you've been online, you've already kind of seen. We're seeing a big shakeup in specifically, where is it? Armor. They're changing armor from Overwatch 2 armor into Overwatch 1 armor. If you don't know what that means, I'm just going to speak plainly on that. Basically, when they went to Overwatch 2, they gave a percentage reduction to all armor. If you had it, it automatically did this to whatever damage was hit. Just straight up. I think it was 15, 20%, 25% on that. They're reverting it back into Overwatch 1 armor so that if you hit somebody with armor, it'll only reduce the damage by 5 damage. So if I hit you for 100, it'll do 95. If I hit you for 10, it'll do 5. So that's the big change. But then the secondary thing is that tanks now have a passive where its headshot damage is reduced by 25%. And overall, it feels pretty decent. More survivability, just slightly, even though you have this shift of things. I know there's a lot of gears turning in your head, Nick. I can see the smoke coming out your ears. What are your thoughts here on that, on those specific things?
You can pull it back up. I mean, like the headshot thing is like fine, right? Because like as tanks, you're just forced into doing things at certain times, which leaves you open to just a bunch of headshots and stuff. I'm not sure how much this the flat damage reduction is going to change anything. In general, I really don't know like too much of the damage.
Well, no, you're right, and that was one of the things that was big up in the air because at this point, the season 10 mid patch happened last week. We're a week into it. We've seen sentiment from players, and we've seen a lot of research. And in fact, switching this out real quick, if you're familiar with Cactus Puppy, he's a pretty reputable Overwatch content creator, a pretty reputable part of the Overwatch community. He's a big math guy. He's a big spreadsheet guy. Well, he created a spreadsheet that's going to really tell you the difference of things, what happened, the percentage, and what it's going to do to every...
and stuff like this for League. Like this is, I'm not even going to look at it. Just help me.
All right. So I wanted to switch the screen so we could see it a little bit better. But more or less what we're going to see, the big shot characters like a Pharah, where they're shooting one projectile and it's doing like a bunch of damage. Pharah Rocket, I think it does 100 or 120 damage. Reducing 5 from that, not really a nerf. In fact, it's probably a buff compared to the armor before, right? 25%, 30%. Much better situation now. Sojourn, same thing. Widow, same thing. But when you get to like a Tracer, Sombra, maybe even a Reaper, Torbjorn, where you have multiple projectiles, like shotgun style, maybe a fast SMG style as well, you're going to see that impact a lot more because those bullets are going to do less damage. They already do less damage than like a Pharah shot or a Widow snipe. But then each individual bullet's going to be impacted while there is armor. So if I have 10 Tracer bullets, they do 6 damage each. 6 minus 5 is 1. Now, they did cap Tracer specifically, so before anybody clocks in on me, or you kind of like go on this, they did cap it at a maximum of 50% of the total damage. So like Tracer's bullets can't go lower than 3 damage each, but that's a fairly significant nerf to Tracer, which I think we both can agree needs that nerf overall. I don't think it really matters because Tracer shouldn't be chasing armored characters, really. Maybe a Brig would be the only one they do chase. They're going after characters. But anyway, you can kind of see what I'm getting at here, where basically scattered projectiles, quick hit scan projectiles, SMGs, assault kind of things, they'll do less damage per bullet, more of an impact.
That's crazy. I see that's just his burn though. Malga's chain burn.
Yeah, so Malga's one that a lot of people feel got really hit by it because he does a lot, but I'm not sure if I think there's the force crit, and it seems like it's still across the board a 30% negative, and I wonder if they're going to patch that out because you can shoot somebody's foot with Malga while they're burning, and it's a force crit, and I think the way maybe the code is reading it is as a headshot. But I think they've changed that with Orisa specifically, and when he first released. So like, I would like to see maybe that change where he's a force crit, like it doesn't count as a headshot kind of thing, and it doesn't eat up the damage like this.
So Orisa got buffed though.
It looks like it doesn't look like it was a total buff. I think her javelin was a buff. The impact on the wall is a buff in the green, but it looks like it's a small nerf in sort of reaction of things. Again, it kind of makes sense, but like her projectile bullets isn't super Gatling gun, isn't super SMG assault rifle style. It is still pretty hefty per. Let me know if you want me to swap up. I don't think there's anything too super notable. I think Reinhardt benefits from something like this. Junker Queen benefits from something like this. All right, here's
It's all green, baby.
All green.
Because he only does stupid stuff. He got a fire strike. We reduced it by 5.
Right, and like this is his damage output, but this isn't even talking about Reinhardt's one of the most armored characters in the game, and this gives Reinhardt another dial to turn, a fader to pull for his power level, because the damage he's going to take is going to be impacted because he's got so much armor on it. I overall feel like it's a good change. Playing some tank this week, it definitely changes a little bit of the meta for the tanks. Rissa's still top dog right now, which is annoying as fuck, but it's been a good change. I don't feel like I instantly blow up, that I have some control in what I do, in what's happening, that I don't just get black hole focused and I'm just dissipated, just like deleted from the server.
And then Roadhog got nerfed for the most part. Rough.
Yeah, the pellet's there, but I think he also benefits. So it's like a weird middle ground because of the crit headshot stuff. He's got one of the bigger head spaces, crits for it. But yeah, like, kind of walking back into the patch notes, really, that was the whole idea of the change. They did have some specific things, so we're not really going to go into. You can take a look at the patch notes and check out other content creators who've done a very detailed, especially when it happened a week ago. I do feel like this is going to impact competitive play. And I didn't get a chance to see the complete meta teams were repping for the college scene this past weekend. I think that was our first indication of that, but we do get to see that happen at DreamHack for Overwatch. OWCS mid-season tournament is happening at DreamHack at the end of this month, May 31st. So I think, well, just very quickly, I know next week I want to break down and do a setup for that. Any thoughts on this patch and the information we kind of presented? Any questions, Nick, for right now that we can try to dive into? Because we are going to do a bigger breakdown next week for what we expect at DreamHack, and maybe we'll have a bit more time to like analyze the meta and see how things feel. But any initial thoughts here?
It's probably not as much of a nerf as people think, because like all those numbers were just based on their damage. So for the most part, all of like the tanks there, their general survivability went up, and it shifted their damage off of the tanks onto more like DPS need to do more.
Yeah. And like, it doesn't mean you don't shoot the tanks either. It just means you get less value from shooting the tanks, which sentiment wise is exactly what was happening before. It felt really good. It was pretty good just to delete a tank, and the tanks that could survive that, Sigma, Orisa, or a Doom, just to like, you know, jump out of the way, get behind a corner easily, were the ones that were being played.
Yeah, that's not doesn't sound fun for tank players at all. It's like really does not sound fun for them.
It definitely was a hard time, and I, you know, speaking for myself, I didn't have a great time. I'm not the best tank out there, but maybe we refer back to Mr. Snowden, Mr. Johnny Snowden. Reinforce. How was your experience? What are your thoughts here? Hit us up at. What's that?
How often did he get treated like an NPC in the game? Like that's
a Reinhardt main,
as tank main,
as a tank main.
If you're just getting like the only thing you can do is hopefully survive, and the ones that can are the good ones. That sounds like a very awful experience in general.
That mostly was the sentiment across the board. Be it your famous Doomfist players, Winston players, the traditional dive players, all the way into the Ramatra and the Reinhardts, the more of the stationary rush comp tanks. But, you know, let's hear what you got to say, Mr. Snowden, or any other tank who wants to jump into the conversation. It's been a week. How has these changes felt? But I think that's kind of it on my thoughts here. I think that's kind of it. We've tapped out all the topics. Any sort of final thing, or what was one of your favorite things this week? This is such a silly question, just a simple, silly question. But like, if you can just like reinforce, calling back to Johnny, if you could reinforce some of the conversation point, one conversation point that we're talking about, what would it be?
What was a good thing?
What was a good thing? What was a bad thing? What's your highlight, low light from this episode that you'd want to spotlight here?
The low light was all except for like one match. League of Legends was miserable for like the last week. It was not good matches except for like one. And I'm being very generous with that. And then like the good thing would just be like, I would just say, I don't have any good stuff related to esports stuff, unfortunately.
All right.
All the stuff that I play is unfortunately in the dumpster at the moment.
Spoken like a true gamer, I would have to shout out Chovy. I got the name right, Chovy. MVP. MVP in my heart, one of the best. I'm going to be a converted fan now. Lane swapping, probably my low light. Specifics, you know, I don't like the sound of that. I'm a League of Legends noob, but I don't like the way that sounds. Maybe there's an inherent flaw in it. Maybe we'll see changes on it. Maybe there's something that we just don't realize with it. Probably not. But, you know, it is what it is.
It's not something you want to copy. And usually
fair enough.
That's what like pulls a lot of people into esports, right? When you're watching it, it's like, I can do that at home. Like, and no one is going to be like, lane swapping at home, genius. Let's go. Like,
it is a strategy that requires coordination. Otherwise, you're just taking advantage of somebody else, some asshole.
Yeah, you just bully them and tell them like, no, we're here now. We're doing a lane swap. And what are they going to do?
Lane swapping. Mm-hmm.
They can't do anything about it. Like, you're just playing the game. Like, what are they going to report you? Negative attitude? Yeah. I told you to get out of the lane. I'm lane swapping. I'm like, we lane swap? Sorry, man. Two of us decided on it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But
right, yeah. And that's Riot's challenge in this one. Let's see what they say, what they feel, if they say anything at all. Beyond which, I'm surprised at Deadlock. I'm really excited to see and hear more hero shooters coming out. Marvel Rivals, Nyan Heroes, Deadlock. It's got potential. I like to see it. As somebody who likes Overwatch, I want to see it, but I want good games overall. I want priority on the good games, but yeah. I think that kind of wraps it up for me, Nick. That all for you?
Yeah, no, that's it for me.
Wonderful, man. Thanks for joining me here today, Nick. Appreciate talking with you on this stuff. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you made it all the way this through, thank you. If you do enjoy the stuff, the content, you know what to do. All the internet things, like, subscribe. It really helps us out, and it's free, of course. It costs you nothing, and it really makes the biggest difference for us because it gets these videos to more people. This is the big call to action at the end. I probably should do a couple more of these through, but either way, thank you guys. We'll be here again next Tuesday, like we are every Tuesday, doing the podcast live, Twitch, YouTube. But if your social media is more your thing, check us out there. We're on all the places: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, if you even use Threads, but not many do. But yeah, that's it for us. Thanks for joining us on the Esports Meta, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.